Welcome to Sports Close-Up with our annual Major League Baseball preview prediction show. Hello again, everyone. I'm Mike Fiorello. To my right, Dominic DiRienzo. Dom, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
No
This is
problem.
the highlight of my year.
Awesome.
Which I don't know what that says about me.
We won't get into that right now. To his right, Ed the Light Bulb Marin. Ed, thanks for coming here. To his right, Bill Greggs, the diehard Cleveland fan. He's got a big smile on his face. Things are looking up in the city of Cleveland, Dom, for a lot of sports.
That's what I hear.
Thanks for inviting me, Mike.
No problem. And to his right, the Met fan of the group, Matt Digiacomo. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. You mentioned the Mets fan. There's got to be one in every group, right?
Well, that's it. There's nothing wrong with that. The Mets are on their way up, I think. But let's look at the leagues, guys, and let's start with the Central Division of both leagues. And we're going to right now decide who we're going to pick out of the Central Division. So let's look at the National League Central Division. Who's going to win it? I have, just to go first for this one, I have the Cardinals winning it. I think they made some changes. I think the Cardinals are the team to beat this year there. And I got the Cubs as the wild card. Let's go right to Dom, and what do you got?
You're not going to believe it. That's the same thing I have. The Cardinals winning it and in Chicago. I'm just not sold on Milwaukee. I know they won the division, but when Julius Chassin is your ace, and I don't know what the situation. I know they got Josh Hader, I guess, is going to be the closer for a little bit, and I'm not doubting how fantastic he is, but you need more than one arm for the bullpen. So, but I'm with you. St. Louis, Goldschmidt, Flaherty.
Yeah. Great acquisition of Goldsmith for St. Louis.
Yeah. So, good.
I actually got it reversed. I got the Cubs and Cardinals.
Okay.
So I had to reverse it. I didn't want to go the same as you, Mike, but I still have faith in the Cubs.
Not much controversy in this division because I've got the Cubs winning it and St. Louis as a wild card. And this is like, I think, probably the window closing year for the Cubs. If they don't do it this year, they're probably not going to do it because the cupboard's bare, and a lot of the players that I'm thinking are going to carry them through this year are getting older. I think one of my bases for picking the Cubs, they kind of had a disappointing year last year by all accounts, but they won 95 games.
Yeah.
So
tied for the best in the league.
In preparation, because Mike likes to ask every year who's on the hot seat.
Right.
My hot seat guy, one of them is Joe Madden, because
unbelievably, you're right.
92 games, he's never won less than 92. But if things go wonky, they're going to get antsy, and I think he's in trouble.
Key player for the Cubs, for them to win it.
Well, Chris Bryant.
Well, I think pitching-wise.
Well, Yu Darvish.
I think he has to bounce back, especially with the money they gave him. Right?
They still got Lester. They got Hendricks.
Yeah.
As long as Lester doesn't have to throw a pick off.
Right? They just extended Hendricks, and they got Cole Hamels, who I think will probably be a decent fourth or fifth starter.
Right.
But Yu Darvish is the key, and he's got all the stuff in the world, and he just hasn't put it together yet. But that's kind of predicated my decision is him coming through finally, and Chris Bryant was bothered by shoulder problems last year, and having him come back. The rest of the lineup is dynamic. Javi Baez and Wilson Contreras. And
What a great battle, though, for the Midwest, again, if the Cubs and Cardinals are battling as the year goes on. You know, those two cities, I mean, the history between the Cubs and Cardinals, they'll probably be on ESPN every Monday or Sunday night.
Yeah, the Sunday night baseball,
yeah,
right.
You know,
Wednesdays,
them and
Sundays,
Yankees and Red Sox, right? But those two franchises. Cardinals are a great franchise because they draw so well. What a fan base they have in St. Louis.
For them to be out of the playoffs 2 years in a row
Right.
is like almost unheard of for their fan base. So.
Yeah.
Right, it's amazing. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but their record of consistency, they have been one of the most consistent franchises over the last 25 years.
Yes.
If you could model a franchise for your city, it would be St. Louis baseball. Now I hate, maybe it's envy, but I hate the story about how smart St. Louis baseball fans are and how great St. Louis
I get
baseball
tired of that too.
Right. And you're right. No one else knows what a double switch is. So, but yes, if you're going to model a franchise, man, you could do worse than modeling the St. Louis Cardinals.
Speaking of model franchise, is not Paul Goldschmidt the perfect addition to that type of franchise?
Fit for him.
Right.
And I still think they have the best catcher in the game. I still think Molina is the best catcher in baseball. I really do. Just the way he
better than Gary Sanchez?
Gee, it's tough to say. I think Sanchez is going to get better this year, but one thing Molina does better than anybody is he frames pitches better than anybody. Where he frames the pitch. And that's the big
Another
thing.
thing is better at Sanchez at is blocking balls in the dirt.
Well, you got that right. So you are a
Most
tiebreaker here in the
most-
Central.
I actually had St. Louis. I thought
There we
Goldschmidt
go.
is the biggest
Yeah.
move in that division.
Yep.
And I think he's going to make all the difference. I think Milwaukee was obviously a surprise last year. They're not going to catch anyone this year. The Cubs passed them, and I have them in one of my wild card squads.
You know, pitching is a question mark for the Brewers, and so is their bullpen. I mean, you look around, they didn't really do a lot to strengthen their bullpen, and their starters, I don't know, if they give you 5 or 6 innings, they had a great year last year.
I'm like Dom. I was watching the playoffs last year,
Right.
and the starting pitchers are putting. I said, "Who are these guys?"
Right.
Yeah,
And I love Christian Yelich. I liked him
He's a
when he was
player.
with Marlins. And
he's a player.
can he do that again? Because he's going to have to do that, maybe more.
Right, and I don't
Right.
think he can. I think so. This is going to sound harsher than it is. He's going to regress. He's not going to repeat that season. And I think Jesus Aguilar is another one who's going to step back a bit. But they're still going to be stars.
Right.
He's playing
Don't get
center
me
field
wrong.
for them. Because Broxton went to the Mets. Who's going to be catching all those home runs and bringing them back for them? Broxton must have saved 8 games for the Brewers last year.
I think it's going to be him and Braun, Yelich and Braun out there trying to catch everything.
Yes.
They're not going to put Braun in center field.
No.
Well, they got,
I think-
Loren- they got
I think-
Lorenzo,
Put him in left and
Lorenzo
right.
Kane is going to cover that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
What about the local team here? We didn't even mention them. I talked to Dom off camera, and I said jokingly, "Oh, the Pirates will be 500." You don't think they will?
No, this is a tough division. So I think when you start to look at and you try to pick these divisions, you've got to think about, we're not making these picks in a vacuum. So when we'll talk about this, I'm sure, more when we talk about the National League East. But the wins have got to come from somewhere because you play almost half your games,
Right.
maybe about half your games in the division. So when you're playing against St. Louis, Chicago, and Milwaukee to some extent,
Right.
it's going to make for a long season. So, and they just don't have the depth. I mean, I think you'll have some strong pitching from them, but I forecast under. I think 77.5 might have been the over/under for wins I heard for them, or
Wow.
maybe even 80. It might have been low 80s. It wasn't 500. My point is the over/under is set under 500 already. So I'm not anticipating that they're going to go over 500. It's going to be a tough year.
And I renewed my 20 game pack, so I should have talked to you first. But
Well, there'll be lots of good teams coming
there
in.
will be. Guys, you look at the Pirates outfield. Milky Cabrera made the team, and then they got the guy from Cleveland. And what was that?
Chisenhall.
Chisenhall. So those two guys.
Chisenhall, the first time he runs for a fly ball, he's going to have
You can hear it pop.
and
Yeah.
that's going to be
It's going to be like a
for him.
rubber band snapping.
They're also counting on Eric Gonzalez, I see. I think they have him penciled in, who's
Sure,
an
yeah.
Indians utility man.
Yeah, and so what is it? Gong is going to be at third.
Third,
Yeah, so Young Ho Gong. Although I do like Josh Bell, and I'm excited about
like Josh Bell.
what that potential is going to
They
bring.
have a guy
so.
coming off the DL after a couple months, right? Who's the Pirate that's going to
Is it Polanco?
Polanco will start on the DL. And they got some good talent down below, but you won't see them until June because they don't want to pay them 3 months ahead of time. You know how the Pirates are.
That's not just the Pirates.
I think it's
No,
part of
but-
the reason why Gonzalez is starting at short and
Right.
Kong is starting at
Right.
third because
Kevin Newman.
yeah.
So, you know.
Although Kong winning the third base spot kind of surprised me because the kid they had there last year they got in a Houston trade for
Oh, yeah.
Cole. I thought played
Moran.
really well.
So are the Pirates ever going to spend money to give their fan base a contender again? I mean, no?
I don't think so either. No, I don't think you'll see.
Terrible.
As long as the formula continues to work. So, and there was a headline today. I didn't read the story, but Pirates' biggest challenge: winning over fans. And there was a picture of a whole swath of empty seats in the backdrop behind a player. And I think that's really it. I mean, if they, what year was it? So this is not a new story for the Pirates.
No.
What was their campaign one year was something to the essence of like, we try harder, or you know, trying to convince the fans that
Right.
we don't have talent, but we're working really hard.
That's nice to know.
So what's the
right?
formula?
Right, yeah.
What's the formula you mentioned? The fact that they can still make money and not have to
Right.
really
I
worry
think
about
so.
trying to
I
win
mean, they have the
anything?
best park in baseball.
Right.
PNC Park, you know, it's not that expensive still to buy tickets. Why would it be? They don't have a lot there. And, you know, you still entertaining when you go there. My wife and I go to a lot of games, and we have fun when we go down there. It's a nice place. It's located where you can get in and out quick.
Right.
You know, the parking's reasonable. So, but I just wish for Pirate fans. Here's something I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm making an early prediction for the Pirates this year. My wife's favorite player on the Pirates is going to make the All-Star team, Sabelli. I think Cervelli will make the All-Star team for the Pirates. He might be the only guy, but I think he'll make the All-Star. He might be the representative from the Pirates this year.
I think you're going to find it's going to be a Mike Williams kind of year. They got to take somebody, so they're going to get a depth pitcher
Yeah, that's
somewhere
true.
at the end of the. What did you have? You had like a 6 ERA and 20 saves at the All-Star break, and he gave him an All-Star spot. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I would like to see Cervelli go because I think he's one of the rooting interests you can have for
Right.
that team. But I think there's Contreras and a lot of other catchers.
For a guy who could make it, if you're looking for if Pirates have one All-Star, is this finally the year where Martin has like his 5th breakout year? Every year is like his breakout year. If he has it finally, maybe he could be the guy.
The player of the future, 5 years running.
Yeah.
And a good story, Tyon.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then I
he's
think
good.
that could be. That's
What
probably
a
one
great
of-
story he is. I mean, overcoming cancer and,
Right.
and all that.
If I had to put my chips all in
He's a
somewhere
good
as the
pitcher.
All-Star,
I think if Tyon's on a frontline team, he could win 18, 19 games.
He might be by the end of the year.
I'm anxious to see Archer this year. He really didn't
He's gonna
settle
be
in
all right.
too well last year, but
Yeah.
and I'm anxious to see really who got the better of that trade because
Well,
Tampa Bay is using those fellas that
yeah,
they got.
but the pitcher they got lit up on a preseason game the other day. I watched him. He got
We'll
lit
see.
up.
Glasnow, he's a
Glasgow,
starter.
the Yankees ripped him apart the other day. Of course, the Yankees have a good
he
line.
was just working on some pitches.
That's right.
By the way,
It's not-
Cincinnati's got an interesting team. We haven't mentioned them. But
You know what they do? They made some pickups. They got Puig, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Yasiel.
Right?
Yes, he also-
So I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasm. There's Castillo, Luis Castillo is their starter. That's going to be their ace, and I think there's a what do you call that when someone a fashionable pick? Like we're picking St. Louis and Chicago. If you wanted to go off the board, I could see you going with Cincinnati.
I think they got a great deal of pieces. I just don't know if they have any glue to hold it together.
Right.
Who's their manager?
David Bell, Buddy's
Is it-
son.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Bell.
Really?
Yeah.
Buddy Bell's son?
Yep.
Was he managing anywhere before?
No, I haven't heard him since he last played for the Indians.
Yeah. That's what-
So he's their manager.
I think he's been in the minors,
Must have been
managing
in the
some here and
minors,
there,
so-
but
I
yeah.
didn't know. Okay, so the guy that played for the Tribe is their manager. He was a good player. Let's go to the Central American League. 'Cause that's where the other local team is, and I'll start again. And I picked the Indians because there's nobody else.
That's it. So the only caveat I'll offer to that is if the Twins get Keuchel, then
Yes.
there might be a chase.
Is that the talk right now?
But no, I don't even think it is. I don't even know that
But
he's
the
in
Astros
conversation.
haven't said much about re-signing him, so he must have an injury that people know about.
Or what's his demands?
That's
He's
true.
probably
Must be
looking for more than a year contract, and
Okay.
that's all anyone's going to give him at this
Yeah.
point is a year. But I don't know. Lindor is a little gimpy.
I heard
and
he
don't
could be out for 2 or 3 weeks now.
Yeah, and Ramirez, what's his status?
Scheduled to start. Yeah, no, he's so.
I like
he's-
But their pitching is so fantastic that I don't
is.
think the Twins could catch him, even if they get Keuchel. But
Well, look, the White Sox tried to sign everybody in the world. Nobody went there. The Tigers, I don't know what they're doing.
oh, they're going to be awful. And
I mean,
Fulmer,
exactly.
Fulmer is out for the year
Yeah.
with
Yep.
Tommy
They'll probably
John.
be worse than Pittsburgh.
They conceivably, yeah.
And I don't know what they're doing. Zimmerman is their opening day, which will be. This will come on at 2 days after the league starts. Are the Royals any better?
No, and that's the other manager, Ned Yost, I think, is on the hot seat because when that starts to go sideways, 2015, he's a World Series winner. This year, you start 3-12. Eesh.
Well, that'd be a shame for Ned because the cupboard is virtually bare.
Oh,
Right. Right.
They did sign Lucas Duda, though. I mean, there's a,
Right.
Salvador Perez is out for the year, and he was
Yeah.
really any.
yeah, he was their all-star, really.
So yeah, I think in this
Wow.
division,
And that's why I agree with what the Tribe did when they got rid of some of their players this year. And I like what their ownership said. We didn't win anything with these guys, meaning beyond their division. Why do we want to keep them? Why do we want to do the same thing all the time? Let's try to, mix it up and get some different players in. So,
and as long as you have that rotation, what does it matter who you got 1 through 9?
and when you have that rotation, you can actually win a couple playoff games.
Yeah.
So who knows?
So that's what we thought last year, and then Houston hit him hard.
They did.
But yeah, you're right. And watch, as far as the starting rotation, everybody knows the first 4. Watch Shane Bieber, number 5 starter.
And that's a young kid, right?
Yeah.
He's a young kid. That's
He's
what
a
I've
Greg
heard.
Maddox clone.
Yeah. And I still think
The greatest pitcher, boy.
in the dugout they're one of the best managers in the game. Tito Francona. I think he does a great job with his teams all the time. Let's look at the Western Division in the American
Oh
League.
wait, we dominated the conversation here. We got lots more Central talk coming.
By the way,
Yeah,
we didn't
that's
even
fine.
mention your favorite team, Mike, the White Sox.
Yeah, I picked them last year.
Yeah.
I picked the White Sox last year. Remember that, folks? And man, by June I was hiding my head. I thought they were going to have a great year last year, and they did until the opening day.
As much as I don't like to say it, Indians.
What do you mean you don't like to say it?
I don't like Ohio teams. I'll put that out there. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, but
Incidentally, did you guys hear who's starting DH for the Tribe? Hanley Ramirez.
I did hear Hanley Ramirez signed. They signed two. There's another veteran they signed. Who was the other one? It was Hanley Ramirez and someone else for some offensive
Is he going to
help.
run
Oh,
it?
Carlos Martinez from the Rockies.
Will
Yeah.
he run after he hits the ball? Or is he going to stay? I don't know if Hanley likes to run, but he just what?
He's just a one-base guy.
Yeah.
Just hit it and trot to first. Station to station.
So, Ed, you just think the Tribe again?
yeah, and we already know what he's going with.
I'm going with the Tribe. But
thought you picked the Twins.
Look who they've lost. Cody Allen, Andrew Miller, Edwin Encarnacion, Jan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall.
Hey, but
It's
I
a new
think-
team.
But I think those last three were good.
Michael Brantley, the biggest loss. Yeah.
But I think it was good to move away from those people. Like
Yeah.
they said, they hadn't won anything with those guys. Let's bring some young people in. That's what they're trying to do. Still winning that division.
They're starting at middle infield as of tomorrow is Brad Miller at second base, Eric Stemets at short.
Who did they open with?
So
Who did they open with?
they open with the Twins tomorrow,
Well,
and
okay. Where at?
Jose Barrios is starting
Cleveland
against
or
Corey
Minnesota?
Kluber,
Minnesota or Cleveland?
at Minnesota.
Be about 10 degrees in Minnesota because they're outside. I love Minnesota. They build an outdoor stadium. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, the one thing about the Indians, I will say, the getting rid of Gomes kind of shocked me because if you're going to get rid of that guy, why trade your young catcher out of the minors, man? You know,
Yeah,
I had the
must
same
have-
issue with the
who's their
Yankees
catcher?
not trading Justice Sheffield earlier in the year to get a pitcher going into the playoffs, and then they go and they trade him for a much lesser pitcher from Seattle,
Who's that?
Oh, Paxson.
Paxson.
Much lesser pitcher. Paxton's going to be he's going to be the ace of the Yankee staff. He's going to win 17 games for them this year.
Yeah, he's putting that on.
That's
It's on TV.
because they're going to score 20 runs every time. But when they get into the playoffs, they're going to have the same 2 years to
I
get
think
ready for it again in the
I
playoffs.
think
when
the
they get
Yankees this year will pull the plug on a starter as the season goes on. If there's somebody good out there that can, help them win the playoffs,
Madison Bumgarner.
I hope not. I think Baumgartner will be in the bullpen for the Giants as the season goes on.
I think he'll be in a different uniform.
Yeah, or the bullpen.
But I have the Indians. I pretty much just, they didn't really do much, but they didn't really need to.
Right.
And that's why I think they're smart making these moves because they can win with just about their AAA team.
One thing I will say about the Indians, they have this reputation that they've garnered through the offseason to being, a sell-off, small market, dumping assets team. I do think deep down, though, that if they get into a pennant race, that they have the ownership capability of bringing some guys
Well,
on.
they've done that before, right?
Yeah.
They've
Yes.
shown they've done it before. And
They brought in Jay Bruce
Right.
and guys of that
Yeah.
ilk, but I think that would happen again this year if the
Where is
Indians.
Jay Bruce, by the way?
He's out in Seattle, I think.
Seattle, yeah. That's a good place for him.
I don't think that's going to happen, only because there's not anyone in the division that's going to challenge them.
I'm just saying, if they get into it.
They've got to be thinking outside. The cliche is we're taking it one game at a time, but they've got to be looking at the postseason.
I would kind of relish a pennant race.
Yeah.
If you saw the Indians last year, they didn't play a meaningful game
And they
until
won't
they
again
faced
until
Houston.
October.
Right.
They won't again. That's
And
the
they
first
weren't
time.
ready. They didn't have the mental
And
focus.
maybe
at
that's
that
why they unloaded some of these players to try to bring themselves down so they can play some meaningful games.
That's why we play in the long game, isn't it, Mike?
We got to get worse so we can play better games because the division's terrible. But what I hear though, their farm system is one of the best. So I still think there's a lot of young kids there that they want to move up, and they're going to be creating spaces for them by still winning that Central Division. So I don't know. But their pitching staff got to win in the next couple of years. Western Division, American League, go with the Astros. I know the Angels made a big splash by signing Trout, which was a great move on their part. But the Astros is my team to win that division going away. Maybe the Rangers will fight for second place and the Athletics. But I think the Angels aren't going to do much at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that division is also pretty lopsided. It's as bad as the Central. I think after Houston, there's not another top dozen team in that division. LA I think if some things break right, I think Trout, to your point, was a fantastic signing.
Great.
And it's going to sound a little hackneyed, but I think if you gave me the choice of Bryce Harper at $330 million or Mike Trout at $430, I would take Mike Trout 7 days a week. I don't think there's any doubt that
Best player in baseball right
yeah.
now. The best.
So, and I think Oakland was a great story last year, but I can't see that repeating. They had a lot of success in some one-run games. Some things break right.
And as we tape this, they're 0-2 because they lost to
Right.
the Mariners
They're already
in Japan.
2 games
so,
back, so they're out of it.
They're
They'll
out.
never make those 2 games
They
back
lost
up.
2 games in Japan today.
Which is a
Mariners.
travesty to start the Major League Baseball season in Japan.
That's what we do now.
It has to start in Cincinnati. That's
Right. Well, that's what I would like to see is that ode to that tradition is starting in Cincinnati. But
Next year, Mexico. Who knows?
again, they were already in Mexico,
When
weren't
to
they?
start the season. I mean.
Well, yeah, but haven't they done that?
Did they do it in Mexico once? I don't know.
I think so. Or no, am I thinking of? Did they go to Australia one year?
No, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
That could be
don't-
the one. Australia, yeah. That'd be a good idea.
Anyways, Houston running away with it.
I agree
Yeah.
right with you. I think LA can make push for second. That's just my.
Yeah, I got Houston. Who knows who's going to end up second in that division?
Who cares, really?
And I
But they're not
agree.
making
Mike
the playoffs coming
You
in
know,
second
The
in
funny
that
thing about it,
division.
we sit here and we laugh about Mike Trout making $430 million over 12 years. He's 27 years old.
Right.
He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right,
He's going to outplay that contract.
right.
Think of that.
Right.
And he doesn't cheat you.
No.
He hustles every play, whether it's offense or defense. And
That's why-
just a pure good guy.
He's the best defensive player at his position. He's the best hitter at his position.
What's that?
I don't know if you noticed the spring training numbers, but he apparently is now hitting the high ball. They were showed. You remember the Art of Hitting by Ted Williams, and they had all these little. He has one spot high and inside that's 117. Everything else is 317 and above, and that includes outside the strike zone, high, low, and. I mean,
That's why when you play against the good teams like the Tribe or the Red Sox, the Yankees, like the Rays, when it's the winning runs on second or third and Trout's up, they walk him. They ain't gonna pitch to him. The pitch who's ever behind him, I hope he can hit because Trout can hit.
yeah. And unfortunately, he's really all they have.
Yeah.
And that's not enough. Houston's got so much talent across the board, and then Verlander, Garrett Cole might be the best 1-2 combination in baseball.
What a steal getting Garrett Cole and Verlander, both of them, one from the Pirates, one from the Tigers. The Tigers told everybody he was done.
Yeah.
He
goes to
was
Houston.
kind of done. He looked a little crispy.
Well,
he
all
goes
they
to
did is
Houston
they
and
went
they-
down and looked at tapes and here.
Yeah,
arm angle
exactly. He
came-
went to Houston.
brought
their
his arm
pitching-
angle back up. Now
Yeah.
he's
Well, the pitching coach said to Verlander, put your tape in from 2 years ago and put your tape in this year. And he goes, what do you see different? He goes, oh my God, my arm angle. He goes, go back to where it was. He went back. That Detroit couldn't do that.
Yeah.
If I'm owning Detroit, I'm going to my pitching staff, my coaches. Why couldn't you figure it out?
right.
I mean, so that was a great move by the Astros. But yeah, they're untouchable in that division.
Houston's kind of interesting. People repute them as having one of the best starting pitching staffs, but consider that they lost Charlie Morton, Dallas Keuchel, and Lance McCullers. They're three of their starters, and they just place new guys in there. This Colin McHugh apparently is going to be a real up and coming.
The thing is, he's only thrown. He hasn't topped. I don't think he's topped 80 innings yet anywhere. So that's a big jump from 80 innings to 180 major league innings.
Incidentally, Carlos Correa is already nicked up,
Right.
and they're not quite the same team when he's not healthy, and he's had some health problems. But nevertheless, they're far and away. In looking at the statistics and getting ready to come here today, I realize Oakland won 97 games last year.
Right.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Right. And I think they're
Bob
over
Melvin
under.
is a genius to
Billy
get that out
Bean,
there.
and Billy Bean wins again. I'll tell you.
But they're over under this year. 84 wins.
That's what I put them down for, is 84, and I put Houston at about 105 wins this
Yeah,
year.
I think Houston, and when we get to the National League, I've got someone else I think are
That's-
the two teams I think are going to be.
It's a funny thing you were talking about, with the Pirates, where your win's going to come from, and you talk about their division. Where's Houston's wins coming from? Their division.
Right.
They're going to.
Same with the
They're
Tribe.
going to play 700 in
Same
their
with
division.
Cleveland. Look at Cleveland's division.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are talking about the Astros. Really interesting about that, the Astros is when you're an opponent and you're a pitcher on the opponent, and you walk into that stadium, that's scary. That is a hitter's park, man. It's like, wow, here goes the baseball, and they got all kind of hitters on their team.
Yep.
You know, 1 through 8 or 9 for the DAs, they all can hit. So there's no weak, there's nobody can take a bat off. You know, say, okay, this guy doesn't hit, I'm not gonna worry about it. You got to make good pitches, and that wears out the opponent's pitch, especially in the postseason. They have a great home field advantage.
I kind of think Houston has been the poster boy for what we're seeing a lot of in Major League Baseball right now, which is tanking. And they did it to perfection.
Yeah.
They had the worst record
3
for
years.
what, 3 years in a row?
Yeah.
The worst record in
Right.
baseball, and look at them now.
Yeah.
And we see
Exactly.
a lot of teams, I think, that are trying to
Well,
ride
the
the same
Pirates
route.
keep tanking, but I don't see anybody getting any better though.
This is a little off your subject, but how many teams out of the 30 in Major League Baseball do you think really are out to win a division?
I say out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball, I say 15.
I'd say 10 maybe, but somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many teams that have no chance, and
No. Right now, they have no chance, which is sad.
Right.
That's what I meant when I talked about the Pirates before. They have a great fan base. They have a beautiful stadium. You know, every year they get rid of their best players, it seems like. Although they picked up Chris Archer last year, which surprised me, and they gave up a lot. But I think Archer's going to have a decent year for them. I think the
I'm not
Pirate
sold.
pitching, I know you're not, but I think the Pirate pitching could surprise people and keep them in games. Let's go to the Western Division of the National League, and I picked the Dodgers, and I give the Padres a valiant effort for signing Machado. At least they show they can sign somebody. I don't know what the Giants are doing. The Rockies, I don't know, and the Diamondbacks are disappointing to me. So I got the Dodgers coming out of the winning division, and that's it.
So I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres to win the division.
Wow.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. No, that's the 2020 version of the show.
Okay.
The Padres winning that division.
All right.
I think it's LA. I think, and again, to your hot seat question, although it will be this time next year, be the off season if the Dodgers don't have some postseason success, i.e. win the World Series. I think Dave Roberts might be time to rattle that cage a little bit.
Isn't that sad, though?
right? Well, I mean,
He's been to 2 World Series in a row. If he doesn't win again, he gets there, you're going to fire the guy? How many teams will be like, I wish I could get to the World Series 3 times? It's like the Bills, we had 4 years in a row
Right.
losing. I wish my Jets would get there 4 years in a row and lose.
That'd be a long way to go.
Yeah, really.
But it goes more to what the expectation is than the reality. Certainly. So you could talk about Clint Hurdle being on the hot seat, but
No,
the
he's not on the
expectation,
hot seat.
exactly, because there's no expectations.
You can be there
if
forever.
if he wins 83 games, people will be singing his praises as a manager who knows how to massage wins out of a club.
Dom, you picked the Dodgers. Okay, so did I. How big of a question is Kershaw for them? If he doesn't do well with his back and he's had some problems already, do they still win that division?
Yeah, I think so, because I think they've got enough pitching depth around them, and I think Urias, Julio Urias, I think that's a name that people are going to get to know pretty
Right.
well, and you've got Ryu and a number of other arms. So Walker Buehler is going to be.
He's their ace now.
Yeah.
he's the ace.
And I think Ryu and Maeda have
Look-
both. I think
Look
Kershaw is the fourth starter.
Look
right,
how
and I think
Dodgers-
they have the luxury of letting him do
look-
whatever he needs to do.
And look how they rebuilt their pitching staff in-house, the Dodgers.
Right.
I mean, what draft picks they made.
I've heard Kershaw may get some bullpen time,
I wouldn't doubt it.
and he's apparently
doubt it.
losing velocity quite a bit.
So it's the Dodgers. Again, I think it's going to be a bit of a runaway. I don't see Colorado repeating. The good news is I think John Gray is going to be better than he was last year. The bad news is Herman Marquez and Kyle Freeland are not going to be as good. So that regression and John Gray's step forward are not going to be enough to compensate. I think their steps back are going to hurt their win total.
And I think if you're looking at the Giants roster, you can see why manager Brew Bochy said, I'm done after this year. Because they got nothing.
And I think you're going to see, again, we're trying to forecast way in the future, but around trade deadline time, you're going to see San Francisco as sellers. Hunter
Yes.
Strickland, Mark Melanson, Tony Watson. Those are all arms. Maybe not so much Melanson, but Hunter Strickland, Tony Watson. Those are valuable arms that someone's going to pay for, and they're going to be sellers.
I gotta go with you guys. I gotta go Dodgers.
Dodgers?
I still think Padres are gonna compete for second, but it's not even gonna be close.
I think San Diego made noise by signing Machado. I'm glad for their fan base. You know, it excites their fan base. I mean, if the Pirates would have done it, everybody in Pittsburgh would have been excited.
Plus, they've got a little bit of pitching. I mean, if
Yeah.
Paddock turns out to be as good in the regular season as he has been in preseason, I think they'll make some noise,
Sure.
but they're not going to catch the Dodgers.
No.
They won 92 games last year. They underachieved.
Who's that? The Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
I think they should be a 100-win team. But Colorado won 91 games. And I'm like Dom, I see them stepping back a bit from that. San Diego's an exciting team. We'll be talking about them this time next year.
Right.
San Francisco, they've got a bunch of guys that are going to be on different teams. And
They're an old team.
they're an old team, and I don't think if they have a plan, it's not really readily apparent.
Exactly. They're a mess.
Yeah, I have the Dodgers, and you were talking about Kershaw. He doesn't even factor in for me because I think he's the third best pitcher on the staff now. Might even be the fifth. I think their best move, plus a healthy Corey Seager, is going to make a huge difference on that offense. And I think losing Puig and replacing him with AJ Pollock is actually
Oh, that's a
makes
big
them much
step up.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as San Diego goes, I'll be interested to see if Sports Illustrated tries to do the year 2023 World Series champion San Diego Padres, because they have that farm system, the best farm system
Yes,
in
they
the majors
do.
right now. If they can keep all those kids and not ruin them on the way up like they have with some of their guys in the past, that's going to be a team to reckon with for 10, 15 years.
We haven't even mentioned Tatis.
Yeah.
And I think the signing last year of Eric Hauser, right? The Padres. I think you bring a guy like that in your clubhouse who's a professional. You start bringing up these young kids, and I think you're going to see some of those young kids come up in the middle of the year, and that's why they signed Machado. Their plan is to win in 2 years from now. And I agree with you, Matt. They're the team to watch, because you look at these other teams. Dodgers, you got a lot of pitching, but the Giants are a mess. The Rockies, the Diamondbacks, I'm not sure what their plan is either. Padres could be finally the team on the rise, and that's how you do it. They tried to buy a team 2 years ago, remember? And that was a flop.
Yeah, that was
I think you will see the Rockies also have some young players.
they do,
Garrett
yeah.
Hampson, Ryan
Right.
McMahon. Arenado signs the deal to stay there.
That's a
So-
big sign.
Trevor
Yeah.
Story is still really tough.
Trevor Story is, what is he? They call it the 3 outcome player. So strikeout, home run.
Yep. All right, let's stay in the National League. Let's go to the East, where I think it's the toughest division in baseball right now. In the National League is the National League East. I have the Phillies winning, and if they don't win, I think second-year manager might be hung somewhere, because after the Harper pickup and some other pickups too that are just as important as the Harper pickup, I think the Phillies, to me, are going to win the East. The wild card, I think the wild card is going to come down to a 14 battle out of that division. I got the Braves at the end of the year pulling and winning the wild card, but don't count out the Nationals. Even so, they lost Harper. I think that might even be more of a united team. The Marlins have a lot of young talent. I think all the moves that the new GM made for the Mets are going to make them a better team than they have been in the past. I think one of the great moves he made was signing that catcher. Who I forgot who it was. I talked to you about it.
Yeah.
Ramos. Willie
yeah.
Ramos. Great framer, the baseball. Mets got one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. They gave DeGrom just a new contract. I know some people said the Mets shouldn't have signed him yet. He had 2 more years. I'm glad they gave DeGrom the contract. I think Syndergaard's going to have a great year. I think Wheeler's going to have a great year. Mets will be 500. I look for the Mets to compete until about August. But I think the Phillies have, in that ballpark, they might score 12 runs a game. I think Harper's going to hit 38 home runs.
They
this
might
year.
give up 12 runs a game, too. That's gonna
What's
be-
that?
They might give up 12 runs a
They
game,
might,
too.
but I mean, Harper's going to hit 38 home runs at least, maybe 40 in that park.
Yeah.
And, I know people say he's the average and so forth, but when the game's on the line, I don't want Harper coming up. The Braves excite me. I think there's a lot of young talent there. Bob?
So I've got Washington winning the
There
division.
you go.
I think. So you can't quantify this, but they certainly got some chip on the shoulder.
You got it.
There are some fellas there that probably want to say we're more than Harper.
Yeah?
And
Got Matt
so
Scherzer
Matt mentioned the 1-2 punch in Houston, but I would counter with the 1-2-3 you have in Washington of Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin.
Okay,
I
wait a
think
minute, wait a minute. DeGrom, Syndergaard, Wheeler, Mats. The Mets don't exactly take a backseat to anybody when it comes to arms.
Or to disabled list either.
right.
Well, I think Ramos is really going to help that pitching staff. Because Donald was not a frontline catcher.
Right. I think the challenge here is going to be, again, we go back to where these wins are going to come from. The team that comes out of here, it's going to be a major accomplishment to be the wild card out of this division because their win total is going to be limited by the number of times they've got to face Philadelphia, Atlanta, New York, and Washington. For me, you could tell me any one of those teams are going to finish anywhere between 83 and 100
Right.
wins, and I'm not going to waste a lot of breath arguing with you. I think you could put them all in a hat and pull them out.
Do you think Marlins are the weakest link in that division right now?
I do. I think they've got some good pitching,
Right.
and I think they have a little bit of talent. And this is just for fun. Can you imagine a Marlins outfield of Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich,
point.
and Marcelo Zuna?
Yeah, right.
That'd be pretty nice right
That's a
now.
good
But
point.
anyways, I have Washington winning it. I think Washington might have one of the best lineups in baseball all the way around the field. And I think Philadelphia is going to get the wild card. But would it shock me if the Mets won the division and Atlanta got the wild card? No. It might shock me a little if Atlanta wins the division. But any one of those four teams, if they reach the postseason, I'm not going to be surprised at all. It's that strong.
I actually got Philadelphia and Atlanta with the wild card. Honestly, I think they're going to be so focused that Harper left. You know, I just don't think they're going to compete that well. Even though they have a good lineup, I just like Atlanta coming in as a wild card.
But they have so many young players that are good
Yeah,
right now.
that's what I like. I mean, they just that young talent. They're ready to go.
Plus, Josh Donaldson doesn't hurt.
Not
That's
at
going to
all.
be a solid.
Yeah.
That was a great pickup, too, that goes under the radar, wasn't it? Be a clubhouse, too.
There's a lot of big pickups in this division.
There is.
Bryce Harper obviously is the biggest name. Andrew McCutchen also went to
That
Philadelphia.
was a good pickup.
Right, and we didn't mention, I'm sure you're going to hit on it, Gene Segura as well for Philadelphia.
Gene Segura.
Yep.
And Realmuto.
The Mets
I
get
think those two are
Robinson
the
Cano.
bigger than
Right.
Harper.
I think
Right. They
Muto,
get Edwin
I
Diaz.
think they paid too much for him, but go ahead.
Despite all of those
Cano
pickups,
going to the Mets doesn't hurt the Mets either.
next to Bryce Harper, I think maybe the most significant in terms of the division balance is Patrick Corbin going to the Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
Which you mentioned him as part of a very already formidable starting rotation. So on that basis and on the basis of young talent like Juan Soto, who I think he won't make people forget Bryce Harper, but he'll be something to behold, I think. So I've got Washington winning it. I've got them winning maybe 90 games to
Wow.
Philadelphia's 88.
Wouldn't that be something if the Nationals win the East and Philly doesn't? You have
Well-
to- I mean, think about that, though.
Well, I think though the crazy thing is to his point. So the Mets did their big deal, and I don't want to steal Matt's thunder because I know he's a Mets guy.
Right.
But
How'd you know? You got a shirt.
Robinson Cano.
That's a good
and-
pickup. For them.
Right. That's more than just a roster spot.
That's to the clubhouse and teach you how to win. And that shortstop, that young shortstop they have, who you're probably going to talk about, is going to benefit having Cano next to him.
So I think they made their moves early
Right.
in the winter,
Right.
and they're quietly stocked and
They
ready.
finally got a GM, too.
I've got the Mets third, and it's simply because, and
Sure.
I don't follow the Mets like, it just always seems year in and year out that their starting pitching only looks good on paper.
We got the Cy Young Award winner, buddy.
Yeah, what was his record?
That's not his fault. They didn't. I mean, he had a 1 something ERA.
It's fine. What about Syndergaard? What's he done for us lately?
Oh, he's going to be all right. Syndergaard.
What's Steven Matt's done for us lately?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
guys are all like,
Yeah, but here's what I go on. You know how many teams would sign any of those guys right
I was gonna say I'll fight
Right
back
now.
because well, the pitching staff looks good on paper. It also your pitching staff also looks better in the regular season than it does in the postseason.
Oh,
well,
you shade a bat on that one. That's a good point.
Trevor Bauer's going to keep his hands away from machinery this year, and Corey Kluber's going to get his.
No, I like their pitching staff. I'm just joking with you.
I know. But Cespedes isn't going to be back for quite some time. I think that's going to.
It will.
Maybe
You
create
know, you know what? Here's the question.
Speaking of Hanley Ramirez not running stuff out.
Wait a minute. Here's the question on Cespedes. If he comes back, and when he comes back, what are you getting? You don't
Right.
even know what he's going to be like anymore.
I thought they built their whole offense around him in years past.
Not anymore, because this new GM doesn't know what he's going to get. He might be back in July. He might not even hit until September. You don't even know how he's going to be. I don't think he's worth. I mean, I don't. It's a write-off here.
The one guy I am looking forward to seeing is Edwin Diaz. I never actually watched Seattle that much, but apparently this guy's coming
Lights
into town
out.
with 57 saves
Lights
last
out.
year.
The Mets bullpen is really strong too. With starting pitching and bullpen, they could pull the Tampa Bay from last year.
Well, how many no decisions did the Mets starting pitchers have last year? It's
The problem was
ridiculous.
the Cy Young had what 12 wins.
Yeah. So
Like Bill said, but his ERA at 1.60. He lost how many games? 1-0 last year. 8. I mean, that's pretty sad. He lost 8 games, 1-0. Couldn't get a run for him.
Well, I had the Phillies actually winning the division before they signed Harper, and I think that up the middle defensive change with Segura at short.
Well, they needed
and
to improve
Realmuto
their
at
defense,
catcher.
'cause their defense was
And
terrible.
I know you said they
Yeah,
paid.
right.
I know you think they paid too much for him, but there's maybe 5 catchers in the major leagues right now that I would take on a team, and he's one of them.
Yeah, but the guy that had Ramos, I thought was an adequate catcher. But go ahead.
So and then after that, I don't know if anyone from that division is going to get the wild card.
So who are your 2
Because I
wild
think we're gonna
cards
beat
in
up.
the National
I
League?
had the Cubs.
Yeah, the other one.
And then from there, could it be Milwaukee? Could it be Colorado? Could it be someone in that East? Because they're gonna beat up on each other so much. Are they gonna get enough wins to be in that?
No, that's why I think the division winner here. You'd love to say that's a 100-win club. There is a 100-win club in the East.
Yeah.
Which one? And then so if they
Oh, if you put that team in the Central,
right.
they would run away with it.
Right, I think
Possibly.
Yeah, right, I think
Well-
the Mets could win the Central. I think
Yeah.
Atlanta could win the Central. I think Philadelphia and Washington would clearly win the Central.
Braves, they could win this thing.
Right, I'm with you.
All right.
I think if you're a baseball fan, that's really the only division you need to watch. That's really going to be the only race.
I think the other division to watch is Eastern Division against the American League East.
Well, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
first of all, we all know the Orioles are going to lose 100 games. Or close to it. Because they got nothing.
100.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They lost
might.
about 120
Well,
last
they
year.
might
didn't
lose
they?
120 again. They
Was
lose
it
that many.
44?
They have 47 wins.
47.
Well, they
This
might
might
not
be-
even get 47 this year.
Yeah, I think their over/under is
Because
in the
by the
60s.
time, by
like
the time this
62.
airs, which
That's
is
bad.
by the time this airs, they go into New York to open the season. If the Yankees aren't 2-0, they just better pack it up and go home. So the Orioles.
I think they get the Yankees twice, don't they?
Yeah.
They get
Yes,
at home and
and
away.
away.
When
and then
Mark
they
Trumbo and Chris Davis are the face of your franchise, you're hurting, man.
Exactly. But I got the defending champs winning again. I got in the East. I got the Red Sox winning again. I don't think they did anything to hurt themselves at all. I think they got strong pitching. They got to be one of the most exciting players in baseball, and I really like the way this guy plays. I wish he was on the Yankees or another team, but Mookie Betts to me is
Right.
all you want to have in a baseball player. What a great talent he is. Just a great talent, and he's a good kid. But I did the same thing in the American League East as I did in the National League East. I know you guys are going to say where they're going to get their wins. I got the Yankees winning the wild card because I think the Yankees have one of the best hitting lineups. I think Tulowitzki's a great addition for the Yankees. I think Sanchez will learn how to block the ball when it's pitched low to him, hopefully. I think Aaron Judge is one of the most up-and-coming young players in the game. I like their bullpen. Their bullpen is strong, which they're going to need because they're starting pitching. CC is going to retire after this year, which is probably a good move.
I thought he
And I got
retired
the
already 2
and I
years
got
ago. But
and I got the Rays
Especially after
winning
last
the wild card.
postseason,
I like how Tampa Bay runs their organization. You talk about an organization that wins, and they don't spend a lot of money. It's Tampa Bay. So I got the Yankees. I got the Red Sox winning, the Yankees, and the Rays wild card.
So I'm only going to change a little bit. I felt like going off the radar a little bit and taking Tampa Bay to win it, just because we're starting to sound like echo chambers here.
Right.
But I do have the Yankees winning the division. I think. Well, sure. Them and Houston were the two. I think they're tied for the highest over/under for wins this year. So 96.5 is what their bar is set at.
They lost Severino though. He's not going to be out pitching for a month and a half already.
Well, I think this runs counter. So rather than Chris Sale being out near the end of the year for the Red Sox, and they still won the World Series,
Yeah, you saw.
but you flip it. You take him out. You take your ace out. You miss the first part of the year, and you bring him in. And I think if Luis Severino is pitching strong late in the summer, that bodes really well for the
Good point.
Yankees. So I have the Yankees winning the division, Red Sox and Tampa fighting out the other 2 wild card slots. So
I agree right with Dom. I mean, I'm taking the Yankees too. I'm sorry that you're a Yankee fan. You should have taken them.
Nah, Red Sox.
I mean, Betts is good though, man. But I like the Yankees hitting lineup.
Yeah, I know, but the Red Sox to me have better pitching than the Yankees, so I don't know. Go ahead, Bill.
I think I'm in line with you fellas here. I've got actually 3 teams making the playoffs, but I've got the Yankees winning it. And
wait, wow, this is really unprecedented.
well, for an Indians fan to pick the Yankees,
Well,
that's
3
what
of
I'm
us so
saying.
far have picked the Yankees, and the Yankee fan has not taken the Yankees to win the division.
I think there's just certain factors involved. Although
Aaron Boone scares me too. To be
when I
honest.
heard about Severino, I almost recalculated that, but I think they're good enough to get by that. I just think there's going to be a little bit of complacency on Boston's part. Team won 108 games. And
Yep.
We're 10-3 in the playoffs, and
What a great year.
they're bound to just have a little bit of I don't know, complacency, I guess it would be. And I'm actually kind of skeptical. You might laugh when I say this, but I'm skeptical about their starting pitching. I just don't know the Porcello. You never know about Price and injuries. I saw
They just named him
Sale.
the fifth starter.
Am I wrong? But did Sale run out of gas as the year was going on last year?
Yeah, he had shoulder fatigue. He missed
Shoulder-
about a month here and there. I think he had 2 separate stints on the DL. So yeah,
I'm really skeptical about their closer situation too. This,
I
closing
think they're
by
gonna end up-
committee.
Their close is still out there, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
Kimball?
still out there.
I think he ends up going back to Boston. That's what scares me because he's still out there. Nobody's
That
betting.
would change. The
I think
dynamic.
Boston eventually will pull the plug and bring him back, and maybe not give him as much as he wants, but say to him, "Hey, you got a chance to go to the World Series again. Come. Nobody else wants you. Nobody else is going after him. Come back here. You're our closer."
I think he's going to do a Le'Veon.
Really? Sit out a year?
I think so.
And sign for less money like Le'Veon?
Yeah, I don't know if he'll sign for less,
That's what Bell did.
but he is angling for a long-term deal.
You're not going to get a long-term deal.
Well,
Not in this day and
that's
age,
why
right?
you're not his agent.
No. That's why he's still sitting at home.
Right, that too.
Yeah,
That's a
Matt.
guaranteed money.
Yeah, no.
One thing,
And I don't blame him, to be
yeah,
honest.
I don't
one
either.
thing that's hard to pick between the Yankees and Boston is either one of those teams has all of the assets
That's right.
and willpower to go out and get whoever they want, whenever they want, before the trading deadline.
right.
I guess it's hard to pick up guys off the waiver anymore, but
Yep.
so what we're saying today may dramatically
Although-
change as the year goes on.
Although the Yankees and Cashman didn't do that last year. He kept his young players. He didn't want to give up some of his young players to get a pitcher in the playoffs. And, he kept Andujar and he kept their second baseman, and who's probably going to start the year at the shortstop unless Tulowitzki does. So
It's
I think
been a
the
while
Yankees-
since the Yankees won a division, so I think they're going to go.
Yeah, but
for
I
it.
think the Yankees don't want to give up young talent anymore because they got burnt doing that before. But you're right. They need to win that division.
I think Paxton was a great pickup.
I do, too. He's going to win 15, 17 games for them. He's their ace right now. So
Tampa, let me just go to Tampa for real quick here. Interestingly, they got 3 starters now. So they're only going to go with what do they call that, the opener?
Right.
the opener.
Much less this year. And if people who are watching don't understand what that is, that's where you start relief pitchers or start a guy, pitches 1 inning.
And I'm sure Kevin's got plenty of time. If you look back, I think you'll find 4 baseball preview shows ago,
Yeah.
you had a guest on here that was
Yep.
talking about why
You
don't
were.
you use an opener?
You did.
It makes
He
sense.
called it.
I mean,
Then you called Kevin Cash and he liked it.
every bullpen has guys that throw 98 miles an hour
Right.
now, so why not put them in for an inning or 2 and
Right.
let them give it
Statistically,
all
you
out?
look at it, the only time you face the opposing manager's lineup as designed is hitters 1, 2, and 3.
That's right.
Everything after that gets to be dicey.
you-
Obviously, you put the best hitters at the top, but 1, 2, 3 is in the opening of the game is when the manager has all of the control to set that lineup.
I would love to see, just jumping ahead real quick, Aaron Boone do that in the playoffs with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Because their pitching starters are shaky. I love to see Aaron Boone start because he's got 5
Start-
guys in a bullpen now.
Start Batanzas
Yeah,
and
exactly.
blow them away. And then
Yeah. Matt.
I'm with you. I have the Red Sox, the Yankees and Rays getting in, as well as the wild cards. And just because we talked about where you're going to get the wins, and who cares? Because nobody else in any other divisions are going to have any. So I mean, the Yankees, we switch it around. However you want this top 3, they're going to find enough wins in the against the other divisions to pull ahead in the wild card. When it comes down for me for the Red Sox, I like their pitcher staff a little bit better. I think I'm with you. Mookie Betts might be the second best player in baseball behind behind Trout.
I think so.
And the X factor is, if I had to put my money on anybody, I would take Cora over Boone.
To your
I
point.
have no argument there. Boone scares me.
I just think Cora. I don't think the Yankees were that much better than anyone last year, but Cora somehow got him to play better than everybody.
Cora's a great pick for a manager last year by the Red
Sox.
Sox. Real quick, we're going to be running out of time. Let's go American League first. MVP for the American League. I got Aaron Judge. Go ahead.
Aaron Judge, again, not really breaking with much tradition here. Mike Trout, even though he signed the contract, if you're into sabermetrics, he's in his age 27 season.
Okay,
So
I just think an
that's
MVP his team should be winning, but I can understand why you picked Trout. Believe me.
Trout also. I mean, look what we were saying at the beginning, where he could just hit everything.
Giancarlo Stanton. I know it's tough for a DH to win MVP, but if he hits 55 homers and 145 RBIs, I think he'll do
Maybe
it
a
wasn't
better year
enough for
than
Bell.
Yeah.
Matt?
50 homers, 50 doubles.
Yeah, I got Mike Trout. I think he's worth every cent that they paid him and more.
Oh, I agree. National League MVP, I'm going to go with Paul Goldschmidt. I think he's going to have an unbelievable great year for the Cardinals and lead them. I think he's going to lead them to the promised land. Yeah.
All right, well, are you ready for a hot take? Because I had Paul Goldschmidt and I scratched it out. Ronald Acuna to become the youngest MVP ever at 21 years old.
I love that in Atlanta.
Yeah, I just there's a lot to love about his game.
Yes, it is.
And, so I know I went according to Hoyle for the National League MVP or American League MVP pick, so I wanted to go off the board a little bit. I'm really excited about Ronald Acuna.
I gotta go with Goldschmidt.
Okay.
For me, it was between Juan Soto and Chris Bryant. I'll pick Chris Bryant.
Okay, Matt.
I went with Corey Seager. I think he got sidelined by injuries last year, and a guy who the previous 2 years hit 48 home runs, drove in 190. I think he's going to have a breakout year.
All right, let's
He's
go.
already good.
Let's go Cy Young quickly. American League, I got Chris Sale.
American League, Chris Sale, youngest to 1,500 strikeouts. He'd never finished higher than second in the.
Chris Sale.
I'll pick the same guy I picked last year, and he almost made it come through. If not for a line drive off his shin, Trevor Bauer.
Okay.
Same team, different player. I got Mike Clevenger. I think he's going to step out of the shadows of the other two guys.
Nice.
He's got the hair.
Okay, National League Cy Young, I'm going back to back. Jacob deGrom.
Back to back.
Yep.
Max Scherzer picks up his fourth.
I agree with you.
Aaron Nola picks up his first.
Nice.
Yeah, I got Scherzer. I think he's the best pitcher in baseball right now.
He led the was tied for the league in wins last year, led the league in innings pitched and Ks, and doesn't win the Cy Young.
In the
Tough
wow,
year.
man.
No, I
In the
know
last-
it's a tough year though.
All right,
in the
let's
last
go.
6 seasons, he's got 2 Cy Youngs, 2 second places, or 3 Cy Youngs, 2 second places, and a 5th, or something like that.
We're going to go through a lot of the other picks you guys had. World Series, I have St. Louis Cardinals over the Yankees in 7 games.
So we jump right to this World
Yeah.
Series.
Yeah, because
There's no thrill here. Washington over Houston. I think Washington is the best team in the National League, and that's why I think Dave Roberts is on the hot seat.
I'm taking Houston over Philly.
Houston over the Cubs.
I got Houston in 7 over the Dodgers.
wow, we got some Houston, so nobody has the
The
Cards
Dodgers
with
lose
me,
3
huh?
years in a row.
I got the Cards over the Yankees, and the only reason why is I think the Cardinals have somebody better in the. Aaron Boone scares me as the manager. He's a great guy, but I don't know if he can make the picks in the clutch and the decisions he made last year in the playoffs. It's like, what are you doing? So I don't know. We got
we'll
Joe
see,
Torre.
won't we?
Anybody pick their Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the year. What do you got for Rookie of the year, guys? Go ahead. American League Rookie of the year. Anybody?
Oh, Eloy
I got
Jimenez.
Eloy or Vlad?
I like Vlad,
I like Glad too.
but he got hurt last year.
got hurt?
He's hurt again already
He's hurt
this
already
year.
now. Yeah.
I think Eloy is going to do. They're going to put up similar numbers, but Eloy is going to do it all year long. The question is, will Vlad be able to?
National League.
National League, I had Peter Alonso. I usually don't get to pick first base.
Pete Alonso from the Mets.
Wow.
Stepping out.
But
I tell you, if he wins
they're
Rookie
due
of
to
the
win
year,
something.
If he wins the Rookie of the year, the Mets will make the playoffs. But the Mets
Well,
need
that's-
somebody that can hit 30 home runs.
He's giving up on Dominic Smith.
Yeah, I said, why is he still on the team?
For the Mets to make the playoffs, he's going to have to be their best offensive player. So
Exactly.
if he does that,
Got
I don't
anybody?
even know.
National
It's
League,
hard to
anybody?
pick, wasn't it?
Rookie of the year?
The rookie.
I got
Yeah,
Nick Senzel.
I'll pick that Robles.
Robles,
What's his first name? Wilson Robles?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Wilson
Victor.
Robo.
Player.
Victor Robles.
Victor Robles.
Okay.
Yep.
We got any time there, producer? 2 minutes. Anybody have anything to say for the benefit of baseball as we get ready for the 2019?
Go ahead. I'll be real quick. I'd like to see this year's postseason actually have some games go the distance.
Yeah.
Only one series went the 7 game or the full distance last year, and it's a bit of a snooze fest.
I have a comment about pace of the game.
Yeah.
Rob Manfred's favorite thing.
Yep.
Read in a magazine article that the average playoff game last year lasted 3.5 hours. Some
Yes.
games lasted over 5 hours.
Yep.
One World Series game ended in Boston at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
My daughter used to be a good fan. We used to sit and watch games. She's sick of baseball.
exactly.
So I think there's the purists and there's, screwing up the game and there's all the debates, but I think Rob Manfred's on the right track in trying to address that.
I do too, and I like to see them start the playoff games an hour earlier too, so we don't watch the game 1 o'clock.
The average
in the morning.
NBA game takes 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Right.
Perfect.
Hockey.
What
too.
are the kids watching?
Football's what, 3 hours?
Well, football's different because it's a once-a-week thing.
It's gonna be longer
It's
now.
still-
They have
but
more
it's still
playoff replays coming in. So,
Right.
I remember, it was '86 when the Mets won,
Yeah.
beat Boston in the World Series. They started World Series games at 1 o'clock on the weekends, 1 p.m.
So here's your hot take then. To Greg's point, Major League Baseball games, 7 innings.
It's been discussed.
I think that is going to address.
how about this other one they're looking at for next year? You come into relief, you have to pitch to 3 batters.
The loogie rule.
I
don't like that?
I don't like that, and I don't like putting a runner on second in
I don't
extra innings.
No?
Well, we're
No.
going to go softball now.
Right.
And next thing you know, they're going to be throwing,
I disagree with you, Bob.
they're going to be throwing slow pitches.
To me, there's
No
nothing more
shortstop.
excruciating when you're trying to keep your eyes open watching a game than to have a
Exactly.
sit lefty come in,
Yeah.
pitch to one guy,
That's
and then the umpire comes out,
Yep.
and then there's 5 more minutes of
Yeah.
TV commercials.
That's
So
why I like the
I
3
agree.
batter rule.
I agree with the loogie rule.
Yeah.
Lefty one out guy is what that stands for.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
That alters fundamentally the strategy of the game.
We did it already with the DH.
And I'm not a fan of the DH.
I know,
either.
I'm just saying, which could
and-
be in both leagues. We didn't have enough time to talk about that, but they're
The
looking at
NBA
expanding
didn't
that.
have a 24-second clock or a 3-point
That's right.
line.
That's right.
And the 3-point
Now
line.
they do, and the NBA is the hottest thing there is.
You know,
Well, part of that is because it's personality driven.
That's
You've got
true.
5 players on the floor, and you can
That's true.
sell.
That's a good point.
I read,
That's a
and
good
this
point.
tells you what kind of a nerd I am, like a 5,000-word essay on the triangle offense,
Hmm.
which essentially boils
like that.
down to Phil Jackson
get the ball to Michael
pass it
Jordan.
around until the shot clock gets down to about 6 or 7 seconds, and then pass it to Jordan. He went to LA, pass it around until it gets down to about 6 or 7 seconds, and pass it to Kobe.
He went to New York and said, I have nobody to pass it.
Right, exactly. So it's a personality-driven league. I think that has as much to do with the NBA's popularity as the timeliness.
No
of it.
I'm just concerned about
I think
the
they need
average
to do it.
baseball
They
fan
need
being
to.
58
And
years
started,
old.
and started the year an hour earlier too. All the
Yeah.
playoff games they're starting at 9 or 8. Start them at 7 o'clock.
Right.
Which one was 7 o'clock? I know the West Coast
West
is
Coast.
3, but so what?
That's
the
because
West Coast.
we live in the East
Yeah,
Coast.
You know, they're different out there.
But
anyway,
you know what?
right? The West Coast.
Right. They've not complained about 11 a.m. football.
There you go.
So, I mean, they're watching football on Sunday at
Exactly.
11 a.m. if they're interested.
Yeah.
Something that was brought up earlier about the Pirates, will they ever spend the money? And Dom, you mentioned not as long as the formula is working. It should be. It's not as long as Bob Nutting owns that team.
Well, right. To that,
So-
right. To that end.
Just
That's the formula you were
And we
wondering.
said this many
Who puts the
times.
money in
Just
Bob
think
Nutting's
Mark
pocket?
Cuban wanted to buy him. They wouldn't sell it to him.
I think that was a bit of a stunt.
Do you really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Knowing you're in an environment where you make profit off of your name, how do you get your name in the news? You make an offer on something you know you'll never have to answer for. You'll never have to put money. I mean, I think if push came to shove, Cuban probably would have bought him. But
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever a real deal. I don't think there
That's
was
too bad.
ever.
It's too bad. All right, guys, great talking. I want to thank all of you. Matt, thank you so much. Bill, great again seeing you. Ed, good job. Dominic, as always, pleasure. This is Mike Furrow saying thanks for watching Sports Close-Up on Armstrong.